In at number 10, Heard blamed for poop in their bed. One of the strangest and most baffling things about this case is the fact that someone pooped in Johnny and Amber's bed, and most signs point to Amber. Apparently after he and Heard had a fight, he decided to leave for the night and come back in the morning when he assumed that she was not going to be there. However, before he made it back, his maid texted him that there was poop found on his side of the bed, with the maid even including a picture. Johnny then texted Amber about the mess, and she tried to blame it on their dogs. Depp stated that their dogs were way too small to produce something that large. Heard kept denying that she had anything to do with it, but Depp is convinced it either came from her or one of her friends. In at number 9, disappointed about weight comment. This is one of the many times that Johnny Depp has poked fun at his situation with Amber Heard. While Depp was on the stand and being questioned by one of Heard's lawyers, the lawyers were trying to establish that since Depp is larger than Heard, it would be easy for him to get physical with her. The lawyer then asked Johnny Depp, quote, "Now, you're a lot bigger than Amber Heard, correct? Physically." Depp nonchalantly replied, quote, "I wouldn't say that." When you see this testimony lined up with Amber Heard's expressions at that time, you can see that she did not take that comment very well, and clearly Amber took it as an insult. And at number 8, confessed to hitting Depp. Even though Amber is trying to make it seem like she was not the aggressor in her altercations with Johnny, in court we heard clear audio recordings where we saw Amber confess to hitting Depp during a fight. From the audio, it seemed like in that instance Amber was the aggressor and Depp was only using self-defense against her. She is quoted saying, quote, "I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap. I was hitting you, I was not punching you. You're not punched." Depp then meekly replied, quote, "Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched." This recording is responsible for many people switching sides in this case and believing Johnny Depp over Amber. In at number 7, Doorman testimony. One of the most talked about people during this trial has been witness Alejandro Romero. During his pre-recorded testimony, he broke the law multiple times, shocking the jury and getting a chuckle out of Johnny Depp. After the video cut, the judge was lost for words, saying it was a quote, "first." Romero was the doorman at the apartment where Amber and Johnny lived, and he came to their home to check on Heard when she believed an intruder was breaking into her home. However, he believed it was just a dog scratching at the bottom of her door. Romero looked frustrated throughout the questioning, saying on multiple occasions that he just wants to be done with this trial forever. I mean, don't we all? At one point, Romero even started driving while still talking to the lawyers. To make things even funnier, he vaped while driving and speaking to the judge, clearly showing just how little he cares about being there to testify in this case. Immediately after his testimony started going viral, with Romero even gaining over 20,000 followers on social media. And at number 6, my dog stepped on a bee. One of the most viral moments in court was when Amber was describing a time that her and Johnny got in a physical fight. Then out of nowhere, she just says, quote, "My dog stepped on a bee," and then winces, like she's trying to force herself to cry but couldn't. And of course the internet went wild with that comment and it quickly became a viral TikTok audio sound. Some users are even adding more onto this sound, continuing it by saying, quote, "My dad has to pee. I forgot my house key. My child spilt my tea." It's hard not to laugh, to be honest. The internet is labeling this yet another time that Amber Heard was a terrible actress. Halfway at number 5, lawyers asked inappropriate questions. Of course it's a lawyer's job to get down to the truth, so it's not out of the question to assume some uncomfortable questions will be asked. At one point, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were living in Australia while Depp was filming a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and Amber alleged that Depp tried to urinate in the foyer of their house. Depp's bodyguard Malcolm Connolly was on the stand, and during cross-examination, Heard's team asked him if he witnessed Depp urinating in the foyer of their residence at the time. Connolly confirmed he heard noises inside the home and that when he entered, he saw Depp in the foyer. When pushed again to answer, the bodyguard said no, prompting those in the courtroom to laugh, including Depp. The lawyer continued, quote, "Mr. Depp had his penis out, didn't he?" before being interrupted by an objection. The bodyguard denied it and claimed he would have remembered if he saw it. Depp tried to contain his laughter. And at number 4, Milani Cosmetics contradicts Amber's lawyer. Obviously this trial is insane, but I believe there has never been a time before where a makeup company came up to contradict what was said in court. During her trial, Amber's lawyer stated that Amber would walk around with makeup constantly in case she ever needed to cover a bruise that Johnny had given her. In court, the lawyer held up Milani Cosmetics all-in-one correcting kit while telling the jury how Heard concealed alleged bruises on her face. Although it's important, the lawyer never claimed that Heard used that specific product. Milani then clapped back in a TikTok video showing that the product held up in court was not released until 2017, 1 year after Heard filed for divorce. So there is no way Heard could have been covering bruises with that makeup. Heard's team responded by backtracking and saying that they never said it was specifically that product used. And at number 3, Kate Moss questioning. Last week while Heard was testifying, she was recalling an incident where Johnny allegedly got physical with her sister Whitney, and during the testimony she brought up model Kate Moss, to which Depp Depp's team celebrated. Kate Moss and Depp used to date decades ago when they were both very young, and Heard alleged that Johnny also got physical with Moss while they were together, specifically claiming that he pushed Moss down a flight of stairs. In court, Heard said about her sister's altercation with Johnny in 2015, quote, "She threw herself in the line of fire. She was trying to get Johnny to stop. Her back was to the staircase, and Johnny swings at her. I don't hesitate and wait. I instantly think of Kate Moss and stairs." Court footage then shows Depp's lawyers quietly celebrating after hearing Moss's name. We can assume that the court did not allow evidence or testimony from Moss to be allowed, but now that Heard has opened the door to that altercation, Moss may be asked to testify. Since Johnny clearly does not agree this altercation with Moss happened, Depp's team believes it will once again prove Amber's lies. And at number 2, a lawyer objects to own question. Easily the most embarrassing moment from one of Heard's lawyers was when he objected to his own question. Attorney Adam Nadelhoff made a strange error while he was asking questions about a fight that left Johnny with a severed finger. While the lawyer was questioning Ben King, Depp's house manager, he asked, quote, "You didn't know what could cause damage to Mr. Depp's hand while you were there on March 8th. Correct?" the lawyer asked. King then answered the question by stating a doctor told him that Depp sustained an injury to one of his fingers. Then, in an attempt to stop King from continuing his testimony, the lawyer objected, saying, quote, objection? Hearsay?" For a moment, everyone was kinda confused until the judge stated, quote, "Wait, you asked the question. Next question." Awkward. And finally, number 1, can't add. Being a lawyer has little to do with mathematics, but you'd assume a group of people that educated would be able to do simple math, right? Well, you'd be wrong. One of the funniest moments captured was not actually during the trial, it was to do with pre-trial details to be sorted out. The judge was on the stand telling each side how much time that they will have in court, stating that once they do go over time, she will stop them regardless of the line of questioning. At one point, she breaks down the exact hours and minutes that each side still has in court, and for some reason Amber Heard's lawyers kind of object and make it seem like the math does not add up. The judge then breaks down the math and asks the lawyer if she got a different number. After a very awkward silence, someone comes in and lets the judge know that their math adds up. The caption on the clip read, quote, "Judge Penny Ascart has the patience of an actual saint. Amber Heard's legal team failing to do basic math." And at number 10, Heard looks like she's snorting something. While Amber Heard was on the stand, it was pretty emotional, so she had some tissues nearby to dry her tears if she got emotional. At one point she decided to blow her nose, but she did it in such a strange way that the internet believed she was actually doing something illegal. If you watch the video in slow motion, it looks like Amber uses the tissue to push something into her nose and then she snorts it. It doesn't look like she blows anything into the tissue, which is generally what they're used for. Theories then started brewing that Heard snorted a white substance into her nose, but many felt it was way too much of a stretch. Then a more probable theory started circulating that Amber snorted menthol, which is a common trick that makes actors cry, especially since under the circumstance, crying would help her case in trial. And at number 9, Amber afraid of Johnny Depp. During the shocking trial, the couple have not had any contact. On top of that, the pair also haven't made much eye contact, mostly because Depp refuses to look in Heard's direction. Recently, while Heard was getting off the stand, Johnny was approaching it, and there was an awkward moment where they were about to cross paths. When Heard seemed to notice that it was about to happen, she looked very startled, then walked away from him. Heard looked like she was physically shrinking and terrified, taking a step back as court officials immediately turned towards Depp and put their hands up, warning him to stay away. To make matters worse, moments before that, Heard had been testifying about Depp assaulting her with a bottle and threatening to take her life. So clearly emotions were running very high. During Heard's testimony, Depp was not paying attention, doodling and writing in a notebook. And at number 8, posed while on the stand. Another moment that's going viral online shows Amber Heard posing for a photo while on the stand. While she was talking about the time in her relationship when Johnny was detoxing, she had a tissue to her face and held it there until she saw the flash of a camera taking a picture. Even crazier, if you watch the whole clip, you can see that she doesn't even use this tissue, making it clear the whole thing was just for show. Body language expert Dr. Lillian Glass agrees, saying, quote, "Yes, she posed for sure. She had no liquid in her eyes or nose, and she never blew her nose, just put the Kleenex to her nose and kept it there. She snuck a peek at the camera to make sure they had the shot." Obviously, things like this do not make Amber Heard look good, and it makes it seem like she's doing everything possible to get good press. And at number 7, stole lines from the talented Mr. Ripley. Another claim that went wild on social media was that Amber Heard copied the main stories from her testimony from TV shows and movies. At one point, a side-by-side comparison of her transcript compared to the script from the talented Mr. Ripley was posted on Twitter, making it seem like she copied the movie script word for word. But when you actually compare the lines from the movie and what Amber said, you can see that it's not a direct copy like it was claimed. If anything, the storytelling is very similar, but that could just be a coincidence. Depending on what side you're on in this case, you'll probably see what you want to see, but it's not nearly as compelling as the internet made it seem before. And at number 6, inconsistencies in her story. Since the internet is mostly on Johnny Depp's side in things, after Amber Heard took the stand, the internet immediately started dissecting her testimony. Viral TikToks even show people acting out her retelling of events, and it makes literally no sense. In one TikTok, the audio hears Amber claiming that she was sitting on the edge of a couch, then she says how she was on the floor looking at how dirty the rug is, painting the picture that her version of events makes no sense. A tweet breaking down another event said, quote, "I walked out of the bedroom and he slapped me in the face. I turned around to face him and I said, 'Johnny, you just hit me.'" The user pointed out that you can't be slapped by someone and then turn around to face them. Halfway, number 5, forces herself to cry. While Amber was on the stand, she was talking about some very traumatic moments in her past and getting somewhat emotional. At some points it looked like she was getting over-emotional in an attempt to make herself cry. For the longest time it did not work, and she looked like she was in pain trying to get herself to cry for the jury. Many online were joking that it was the best acting performance she'd given in her life. And at number 4, ACLU donation. One of the worst cases of Amber Heard lying is in regards to her donations to the ACLU, since it's so easy to get to the truth. During her divorce proceedings, Amber went on record stating that she would donate the proceeds from her divorce to Children's Hospital of LA and the ACLU within 10 years. During the recent trial, the ACLU says that she gave them less than half of her $3.5 million pledge. An executive from the company, Terrence Doherty, said that the nonprofit received 4 donations in Amber's name so far, totaling only $1.3 million. Only $350,000 from her directly. Johnny Depp then wrote a check for $100,000, and Amber Heard asked for that money to be credited to her. The organization also says other payments included $500,000 from a donor-advised fund at Vanguard and $350,000 from a donor-advised fund at Fidelity. The ACLU believes a large portion of this money came from Elon Musk, Heard's former boyfriend. And at number 3, Heard copying Depp's outfits. One strange thing that's been noticed during the trial is that Amber seems to copy Johnny's outfits in court. Dr. Shannon Curry took the witness stand and testified that she diagnosed Amber Heard with 2 personality disorders, and one could cause her to mimic her ex-husband Johnny Depp's wardrobe choices. Dr. Curry claimed that Amber's disorder may cause her to, quote, "take on the identity of the people they are spending time with because it's comforting." At that point, fans already started to notice that she was copying Depp's outfits, with some believing it's a tactic to intimidate him. Many fans on Twitter are pointing out the strange coincidence, pointing out how Heard will copy the color and style of whatever Depp wears the next day. And at number 2, hides a water bottle. There might not be anything wrong with this one, but it's definitely strange. So while Amber Heard is in court, she's talking to her lawyers, and then she goes to unscrew a water bottle. Pretty normal stuff. But then one of the courtroom cops comes over and walks by, and for some reason Amber quickly screws the cap back on and hides it in her jacket pocket. This bizarre moment is leading some to believe that the contents of the bottle were definitely not water. The caption on the video read, quote, "Amber Heard and her deeply sus moment in court with her water bottle." And finally, number 1, hid a smile. There have been a few moments in court that have just not seemed to add up. A few involve Amber Heard laughing or hiding a smile either while she is testifying or while Johnny Depp is. A body language expert did an entire 30-minute video on this topic, breaking down one specific moment where Amber Heard's facade cracked, and she showed her true emotion. In the thumbnail he wrote, quote, "One smile exposed her." In the intro clip we see Johnny recalling a moment with Amber and he says, quote, "It just didn't happen." As the camera pans to Amber, we see a brief smirk that she quickly conceals. The expert notes in the video that he believes she bit the inside of her cheek to conceal the smile. She then blocks her mouth as a reflex to again hide her emotion. The expert continues that it's shocking that she would decide to laugh in that moment when she sees her former partner breaking down on the stand.
Number 10, Mildred Pierce. During Amber's testimony, she begins speaking emotionally about the times that Johnny Depp allegedly hit her. At one point in her speech, Amber said that Johnny slapped her and then said, quote, "he'd rather cut off his hand." That line in particular is directly out of the movie Mildred Pierce after she slaps another character named Vita. Many people believe that this was a line stolen directly from the 1945 film, a drama about a woman whose husband leaves her for another woman. In this film, there's a scene where Mildred, the mother of 2 daughters, slaps one of her daughter in the heat of the moment after the daughter is angry that Mildred degraded their social status by not remarrying. After she slaps her daughter, Mildred immediately apologizes and states, quote, "I'm so sorry I did that, I'd rather cut off my hand." The lines are definitely similar, but honestly, I can see this one being kind of a stretch given how minuscule and off the cuff it was. Number 9, Notting Hill. Also during Amber's testimony, she spoke about the first time she had met Johnny Depp on the set of their movie. She also describes how the two would fall in love with each other. During this time, Johnny was sober, and to replace his habitual alcohol intake, he drank tea instead. Tons and tons of tea. If you're listening to the trial, the amount of times that she mentions how much he loves tea may have struck you as odd. Many on the internet pointed the similarity to the romantic comedy Notting Hill. It's similar to a line that Julia Roberts says to Hugh Grant about, quote, he drinks lots of tea. Others think the way that she seemed to mimic Julia Roberts in the tea scene may have been done so to make her appear more lovable and believable. Number 8, I am a killer. Also during her testimony, Amber spoke about how Johnny was around another woman and they were all under the influence of different substances at the time. Amber claims that the woman laid her head on Amber's shoulder and it, for some reason, set Johnny off. She went on to allege that Johnny then grabbed this woman's wrist, twisted it, and pulled her towards him. Amber then claims that he said, quote, do you know how many pounds of pressure it takes to break a human wrist? She goes on to say that Johnny held the woman and she was frozen in his grip. Many people have claimed that this line that she claims that he said is actually a line directly from the Netflix series I Am a Killer. The person in the scene says, quote, do you know how much it takes to break a human hand? The series in question documents the life of a woman with a life sentence in prison for taking the life of her husband in extremely brutal and gruesome ways after he broke her hands. Number 7, Shrek 2. Listen, I know this one is definitely most likely total crap, sue me. It's a bit on the satire side, but we all know Reddit. They would psychoanalyze a goldfish if they could. This moment in the trial was kind of similar to a moment in the DreamWorks movie Shrek 2. In the movie itself, Prince Charming is looking around a destroyed room and saying, whoa, what happened here? In a TikTok clip that was posted to Reddit, it quickly clips to Amber, who says the exact same thing in almost the exact same way that Prince Charming does. Listen, if you ask my opinion, there's no way she stole from Shrek 2, let's be real here. It is a little funny though. Number 6, True Detective. This moment is very similar to the one mentioned before where she seemed to quote the series I Am a Killer. It's in reference to the part in Amber's testimony where she begins telling the story of when Johnny Depp became aggressive while they were on a flight. Amber claimed that Johnny got into an altercation with a flight attendant, grabbed her wrist, slammed it down, and said something similar to both True Detective and I Am a Killer about how it only takes a few pounds of pressure to break her wrist. One Twitter user was very quick to point out the similarities between this testimony piece and a scene in the show True Detective, particularly in season 1 when one character states a line extremely similar to the one in I Am a Killer and to Amber's allegations. While I tend to be critical and hesitant towards this whole debacle in general, I do think it's a little odd that if Johnny harmed a flight attendant, why hasn't she spoken out at all, or even stated anything as a witness? I mean, if he's slamming wrists, there's a whole flight of people to corroborate that kind of situation. Number 5, the article. This is something that wasn't stolen from a movie or a book, but it is something that people have pointed out as being blatantly untruthful and in direct contrast to statements that she's made previously in court. Amber claimed during her testimony that prior to her relationship with Johnny, she wasn't a fan of his nor a fan of his art. But fans of Johnny's found an article from years ago. Her claim was directly seen as false. In the article itself, Amber claimed that when she was a teenager, she had photos of Johnny all over her room. A friend of hers had told the Inquirer that Johnny was basically Amber's first love. Quote, when she was a teenager, Amber had already decided to become an actress, and she had pictures of Johnny all over her room. So it's no surprise they fell in love while working together. Amber usually gets what she sets her mind to. Creepy. Number 4, Alpha Dog. In our number 4 spot is the movie Alpha Dog. This one is more of a theory in relation to the trial rather than a direct movie quote, but it's definitely worth noting for a full scope of what is exactly going down. So we have all heard the story of the poo on the bed at this point. If you haven't, it's basically alleged that Amber had left feces on Johnny's bed. While she claims it was her dogs that did so, it's pretty apparent that it belonged to a human. There's a theory that this entire move was a scene from the film Alpha Dog, a movie that Amber herself was in. In the scene, one of the characters, who is under the influence, defecates on his enemy's rug in revenge. It's certainly extremely cinematic if it is a movie reference. Number 3, Maid. Someone on Twitter pointed out a similarity in Amber's testimony to Maid, when Amber was detailing an alleged instance where Johnny Depp threw a glass at Amber, then punched a wall, and then punched a wall right next to Amber. According to the people who had seen the Netflix show, which is about a woman who is fleeing a horrible relationship to provide a better life for her children, it is said that this scene is actually word for word in the show. While it's definitely possible that real life can absolutely align with television, I think a lot of people are more suspicious than they normally would be given all the examples of Amber seemingly quoting things left, right, and center. Number 2, White Chicks. Next up is the comedy White Chicks. During Amber's first day of testimony, she told a horrifying story where she alleged that she had to call Johnny's sister to help remove him from their home. But as they were all driving in the car, Johnny allegedly started howling out the window, grabs Boo, his dog, a teacup Yorkie, and holds Boo out the window of the moving car. He's howling like an animal while holding their dog out of the car. But people seem to think that this scene was taken straight out of the comedy movie White Chicks. In the movie scene, a teacup Yorkie flies out of the window of a moving vehicle and is only being held onto by a leash. But there's also an Instagram photo that has since surfaced of Amber Heard letting the dog out of the car window. I honestly think this one's definitely a stretch, but you know, what do I know, I'm just some rando on the internet. Number 1, the talented Mr. Ripley. I saved this one for last because it seems to be the most credible moment of Amber actually referencing a movie. It is said during Amber Heard's opening statements when she seemed to directly quote the film wherein a man arrives, showers people with gifts, and then seemingly disappears. The quote people are referencing states, quote, "The thing with Dickie, it's like the sun shines on you and it's glorious, and then he forgets you and it's very, very cold. When you have his attention, you feel like you're the only person in the world. That's why everybody loves him so much." Now, Amber didn't directly say these words exactly, but she does say something eerily similar. When describing her attraction towards Johnny, she talks about how when he was with her, Johnny had a warm glow about him, showered her with gifts, and made her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. They would be in this bubble for 4 to 5 days at a time before it would suddenly disappear and this monster would take its place.